How does silence sound in a city of a million souls, a city built upon geometry and the slow turning of ideas? Happens when the greatest library the world has ever known finally closes its doors for the night when the ink dries on the last scroll. And the smell of jasmine replaces the scent of parchment and ambition. Can we find peace in the sheer monotony of a golden age tonight? We seek the gentle rhythm of the Abbasid Caliphate. We listen for the whisper of the Tigris River running cool beneath. The walls of Baghdad, we are searching for the simple, quiet truth of a truly boring day in history's most exciting place. I am your host, Nasrullah from History Lullubay, and tonight we drift back to the 9th century. The year is roughly 832. The air is thick with the promise of deep sleep, or perhaps the residue of a long, slow, humid afternoon. We are standing softly at the edge of the round city. The geometric heart of the world is muffled and ready for your rest. Imagine the color of the baked earth just as the sun dips entirely below the horizon line. Deep, muted terracotta absorbing the last vestiges of daylight. The shadows stretch like long, thin fingers reaching across the vast courtyards of the intellectual. Palaces Baghdad, the Dar al-Salam. The city of peace is breathing deeply now. Feel the residual heat radiating from the massive baked bricks and the heavy timber doors. It is the kind of heat that presses lightly against your skin but does not sting. Kind of heat that encouraged total stillness and blessed inaction. There's no rush here, only the measured movement of water carriers. Returning home and the distant lowing of a camel settling down, we are not here for the grand battles or the shocking political betrayals. We are here for the quiet maintenance of the mundane, the boring brilliance of daily administration, and the soft drone of routine stability. Of the architecture, the walls are immense and protective, designed not for drama, but for enduring permanence. The houses are built inwards, facing central courtyards, where the only sound is the slight trickle of a small fountain meant purely for cooling the air and soothing the mind. Listen carefully now to the soundscape of this Abbasid evening. Is dominated by the absence of urgency. The city is settling, a massive living thing finding its most comfortable position to sleep. The vendors in the souk, the great marketplace, are covering their wares with heavy protective cloths. The pungent spices, the heaps of saffron and cinnamon, are tucked away. Their powerful scents are now softening, merging into a single complex perfume of earth and trade and faint incense. The sounds of hammer on metal, the insistent cries of merchants, the clamor of the brass workshops, all those bright, demanding noises are fading away. They retreat behind heavy cypress wood shutters, bolted firmly against the coming night. We hear instead the gentle shuffle of sandals on dusty paths, the soft murmuring of Arabic poetry exchanged between friends walking slowly home beneath the oil lamps. The light is soft here, always soft. Electric glare, no sudden flashes, no sharp edges, only the gentle, constant glow of olive oil lamps hanging in the high archways. Their light casts warm amber pools on the patterned stone floors, creating a sense of deep ancient warmth, perfect for your deep ancient sleep. Walk toward the canal, a feeder from the mighty Tigris. The water is reflecting the few visible stars long before. The sky is completely dark above. The water moves slowly, almost hesitantly, carrying small flakes of silt from upriver. It is the sound of moving water that we anchor ourselves to tonight, eh? Constant soft hiss, a gentle lapping against the stone embankments. Sound of the river is the true lullaby of Baghdad. It has seen everything, but tells only soothing stories. Its voice is low and constant, and does not require a reply or any attention. Just listen to the water. Let the ancient water smooth out the edges. A modern world. We are safe here within the walls of this intellectual powerhouse. This house of wisdom, where mathematics and medicine were daily mundane concerns, where the zero is used not as a philosophical novelty, but as standard necessary practice for accounting. But even in the world center of knowledge, people must eventually eat, sleep, and restand. Tonight we focus only on the rest, the simple act of being quiet in a city of genius. The air smells strongly of baked bread still cooling. In the side alleys, a scent of pure, simple carbohydrates that speaks of nourishment and comfort. The baker is tired, his hands coated in flour, his work for the day done. He washes his face in a basin, and the sound of the water splashing is clear, and final work is done. Rest begins. We are beginning our deep journey into the quiet mind of the golden age. Let your thoughts drift away like tiny boats on the gentle current of the Tigris follow. The cooling air, the slow, deliberate pace of a civilization that truly understood stability and how to maintain it, and find your own quiet place within the ancient walls of Baghdad. Let the history begin to fade into the softness of the night, just the rhythm of the city settling softly, softly, now drifting deeper into the comfortable silence, ready for sleep. No rush, no only the constant rhythm. The rhythm of the boring, perfect day. The kind of day that produces masterpieces and harvests tranquility. A day without crisis is a day for deeper learning and deeper. Rest Baghdad waits for you, silent and gold and depressed. Now we leave the grand scrolls of the caliphs for a moment. We step away from the dazzling mathematics and the translated wisdom of the Greeks. We follow a different rhythm now. The deep, soft pulse of a living city slowly rousing itself from its slumber. We settle ourselves within the immense shadow of the round city walls built by Al-Mansur himself, walls designed to protect not just power, but the quiet dreams of its hundreds of thousands of inhabitants. Baghdad sleeps differently than the dusty villages around it. Baghdad sleeps with a knowledge of its own greatness. Humble confidence. The air is still cool here, a comforting weight before the harsh sun claims the day. We feel the texture of the early morning air, slightly damp near the hidden channels of the Tigris, slightly smoky from the charcoal embers. Banked overnight. The silence is fragile. It is the silence of anticipation, not of absence. And then the sound comes, a sound that defines the start of any day in this vast golden age. The first call to prayer is not a single cry, but a spreading chorus, a wave of sound beginning in the highest minarets and washing down into the labyrinthine residential quarters. Mudins calling out. The fatherly call across the rooftops, where many have chosen to sleep exposed to the breeze because the houses are simply too warm. The voices are melodic, profound, measured. Daila es-salah, come to prayer higher. Pala al-falah, come to success. The words echo off the baked clay walls, the mud brick structure, the solid stone foundations. They are a hypnotic metronome, reminding the Abbasid capital of its highest purpose. A sense of universal calm settles with those final low tones. It signals the official end of the night watch and the beginning of the quiet rush, a rush not of speed, but of intention. The movement is subtle at first, the creak of a heavy wooden door being carefully unlocked, the soft padding of feet on rush mats as the first pious citizen prepares for his ritual cleansing, a sound of splashing water near the small courtyard fountain, a sound that is both cool and refreshing, even though we cannot feel the spray. Breathe in deep the aroma of this waking Baghdad. The streets themselves are still dark, protected by the shadows of the high buildings, but the air is changing. Dry dust of the alleyways is momentarily conquered by the scent of fresh water. The water carriers, the Saka, are already at work. They move slowly, methodically, sprinkling the main thoroughfares from their heavy animal skins to keep the dust from overwhelming the morning mist. Practice ensures the Caliph streets remain clean and tolerable before the full heat sets. Find a quiet generosity of preparation, and the sweet smoke. The wood fires are catching now. Large roaring fires, but focused careful charcoal warmth fires. For the bakers, for the vendors of hot sweetened milk, for the early kitchen of the wealthy merchant, the smell of freshly milled wheat flour mixes with the heat. Bakers are hauling the heavy baskets of dough toward the communal ovens, which sit hot and waiting below ground. You can hear the gentle slap as the flatbread. The cubes is stretched and shaped a sound of honest labor. That serves as a quiet background track to the religious dawn. We move our focus now from the sounds to the light itself. The sun is peeking over the eastern horizon beyond the round city. It illuminates the mighty Tigris first, making the river glitter like hammered gold, a brilliant contrast to the dusty gray-brown earth. The light slowly crawls over the city, begins to reveal the incredible colors hidden beneath the darkness. The blue glazed tiles of the grand mosque, the vibrant reds and yellows painted on the sturdy shutters of the bazaar shops, the deep green of the small sheltered gardens where citrus trees flourish. Everything appears washed, renewed, slightly softened by the morning haze. We watch as the great gates of the city slowly groan open, The city gates are massive structures, usually requiring several men to manipulate the heavy iron and wood. They open cautiously. Not yet wide enough for the full rush of daytime traffic, but wide enough for the first farmers from the surrounding countryside to enter. They bring their essential cargoes fresh. Vegetables still damp with dew baskets of the finest dates, heavy and dark, and perhaps most importantly, the animals needed for the day's work and consumption. The sound of donkeys braying, lightly mixing with the soft lowing of Callaway, a low murmur of transactional history beginning. This is not the chaotic clamor of midday Baghdad. This is the gentle transition. The movement of people is purposeful, but slow. Everyone knows the importance of reserving energy for the punishing heat that will arrive. By noon, our own host, Nasrullah, settles deeper into this early calm. We are watching a perfect ancient clockwork mechanism begin its daily cascade. Are observing the foundation of the golden age, not its finished masterpiece, with small details of survival and peace. Children are still asleep, cocooned within the security of the household walls. The scholars of the Beit al-Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, are likely either already awake, deep in study, or retiring only now, having spent the full night examining the stars and the ancient texts. But for the common man, the worker, the merchant, the craftsman, this moment, after Fajr or before sunrise, is the most sacred time of peaceful preparation. The sounds of grinding stones begin to emerge from the nearby miller shops, a steady rhythmic rasping sound. The scent of roasting coffee beans, perhaps an early import from Yemen or Ethiopia, adds a rich, dark note to the sweet air. Feel the city sighing as it prepares for the next 12 hours of intense intellectual and commercial life. We remain suspended in this perfect moment of dawn, a moment in Abbasid history. That required no great battle, no complex poem, no breakthrough calculation, just the simple, steady unfolding of a very ordinary day in the most extraordinary city the world has ever known. We simply breathe and listen, allowing the gentle sounds of the awakening round city to lull us deeper into relaxation. The air grows slightly warmer. Now the shadows shorten, the light becomes sharper, more defined. The first wave of movement is complete. The gates are fully open. The streets are sprinkled. The bread is baking. Chapter 2 surrenders to the rising sun. We are now ready to meet the people of Baghdad. We are ready to experience the markets. Drift towards the heart of the city, following the low drone of conversation and the steady clip-clop of hooves on packed earth. The day has truly begun. May your mind remain open and your rest remain deep. We move forward slowly towards the market districts now. The sounds carry you far away. The air is softer, now heavier with the promise of warmth. The courtyard. Floor still damp from the morning spray of rosewater, gentle fragrance that clings to the ancient stone. The sound of the city is changing. The sharp cries of the early vendors have softened into a low, distant huma background texture to the deeper movements within the home. The rustle of linen, the quiet scrape of a ceramic bowl. We move slowly toward the inner room, where the first meal of the day awaits us. This is not a hasty affair of coffee and quick departure. It is a measured replenishment, a quiet acknowledgement of the body before the mind takes flight. A small table of beaten copper reflects the soft light upon. It lies flatbread, still warm from the earthen oven bread that speaks of the deep, fertile banks of the twin rivers dipped in. Olive oil pressed far to the west oil, that taste of sun, and the memory of distant groves. A bowl of fresh Laban, a thick yogurt cooling and tangy sustenance. That settles the stomach and prepares it for the long stretch of work we take slow measured. Bites, no haste, no rush. This morning is an instruction in patience. Light filters through the intricately carved wooden screens, the mashrabia lattice work creating patterns of liquid gold and deep shadow dancing slowly across the woven rugs and soft cushions. These geometric dances are the only quick movements allowed this hour. After the food, there is the ritual of purification. The body must be ordered before the mind can be ordered. Small miswak stick of fibrous wood gently cleansing the mouth, the soft scrape, a clean, fresh sensation. Preparing. The breath for speech, for learning, for the careful diction of scholarship. The scholar prepares his tools. The simple elegance of necessary implements. The reed pens are sharpened just so the edge. A careful slope ready to hold the deepest black of the ink. The inkwell stands ready holding the deep mystery of knowledge. Scent of gall nuts and soot, a comforting smell of purpose A, dry earthy aroma that speaks of endless scrolls and careful copying this, is the quiet work that precedes the grand pilgrimage, the journey not across the desert, but across the page, the revolution of paper and inquiry. Our preparing for calculation, for observation, for the silent revolution that is founded in a boring day of. Study the world outside is now moving toward its full tempo, but within these walls, the pace remains deliberate. That cool stone reminding us that knowledge is slow to gather and slower still to master. We pull the light fabric of the Abba over the simple. Tunic ready now to step out from the domestic hush into the disciplined activity of the golden. Age Street, ready for the gentle walk toward the House of Wisdom. Our footsteps will be quiet, our minds already engaged thinking. Perhaps of Euclid or of Algorithmia. Morning filled with the deep peace of anticipated learning and Azariel Ilos drifting you, now beyond the shadows of the inner court, push slowly. Against the heavy wooden door of the house, a thick oak barrier treated against the desert dust and the night. Chill iron hinges whisper a low song, a gentle creak that is quickly absorbed by the thick mud brick walls. Step outside it. Air is still relatively cool, but it carries the promise of the midday heat, a distant threat that has not yet reached. Its power were now in the Darb, the narrow alleyway. Is here the private world meets the city's edges. Darb is not paved like a Ramang road. It is earth and gust, trodden softly by generations of sandaled feet. It is not a place for carts, only for donkeys, and for people walking slow. Like the high walls on either side are almost blank, windowless for privacy, and they rise above you as like canyons of clay, keeping the bright sunlight from touching the ground directly or walking in Shadia. Cool dark shade that feels like a blanket pulling down the heat of the morning mist into the sounds here really are different from. The courtyard, the rhythm of the neighborhood, is starting to awaken a distant clank of perhaps a blacksmith in a nearby street testing his fairly mutter of voices low and SOF to just barely audible behind one of the walls, a child laughing sharply and then silence. Again, sound of water always. The sound of water in Baghdad there is a small qanat or irrigation. Ditch running alongside the wall, hear a slow gurgle, a persistent whisper of water traveling from the Tigris to the neighborhood Gardensit is lifeblood. IT is a constant sound of flow. Follow this water flow for a while. Our pace is unhurried. We have nitrogen monoxide appointment, nitrogen monoxide urgency to rush to the House of Wisdom or the Caliph's court. This is a boring day, a day for observation. A day for gentle steps. Way paused beside a screened window. A masharabia made of intricate turned wood is a work of art, designed to allow air to circulate while keeping the gaze of strangers out from within. We can only hear the soft chiming of beads or perhaps the rustle of fabric. A woman is undoubtedly starting her chores, but her world remains hidden safe behind. The patterned air here smells different than inside the homite, is a mixture of things, earthy scent of damp clay. Where the water has spilled over the kanath, faint stink of uncollected waste that the morning sun has not yet burned away in. Then the sweet overlay of jasmine, a climbing vine hanging over a nearby courtyard wall. Those jasmine flowers are white against the tan mud brick. A small explosion of fragrance in this dusty lane walk towards the end of the Darb, the alleyway, opening out onto a wider thoroughfare. Light begins to change. Right, becomes brighter, harsher, are leaving the safe shade and heading towards the suck. The marketplace is wider street is where the traders pass, where the neighborhood gathers. Daily needs can already hear the chorus of the city's commerce, a low deep hum like a swarm of bees in a distant hive grows louder as we approach first. Signs of the suck are the Piaplia, a small group of men are gathered near a fountain discussing the morning news or perhaps the price of dates. Their voices are deep and slow. The dialect of Baghdad is rich and drawling. They are not hurrying. They are sipping the morning. A water seller passes by his goatskin bag full of cool water slung over. His shoulder calls out his trade, a musical cry for refreshmental Ma al-Brid. Cool water, water, watch him pass. His steps are rhythmic. His call is soothing as a moving oasis in the city. He to her eyes drift down to the street surface. Now it is worn smooth by 1,000 years of traffic here, and there we see the hoof prints of donkeys cemented into the dry mutacart. Passes by now, its wooden wheels rumbling and grinding against the stones that have been laid near the junction it is carrying. Large jars of olive oil or perhaps grained. Driver does not look at US. He is focused on his journey, his face dusty and tired. This is the gentle movement of a golden age, and not the drama of battles or the glitter of royalty, just the slow daily grind. The rhythm of the citizen rye. Turn the corner, and the souk opens up. It is not yet crowded. The peak of midday bargaining is still hours away. This is the time for setting up for preparation. We see the shopkeepers unfolding their canopies, pulling them out to provide shade for their worst. They are canvas and wool stripes of red and blue and yellow. They filter the sunlight into soft colors down onto the spices and fabrics. The scents here are overpowering yet beautiful. Cinnamon and cardamom fighting against the sharpness of dried chili saffron, so valuable, so deeply red and gold, resting in wide baskets. Walk slowly through the spice cellars section. The colors are vibrant yellows of turmeric, deep greens of thyme brown cloves. Can almost taste the air. The dust of these fragrances is on our tongue. We a merchant greets US with a simple salam. Is a man with ASOFT voice and tired eyes. He is already sweeping his small stall clear of the night's dust. He offers US a taste of his freshly ground pepper. We politely decline. We are simply observers traveling through this quiet morning watch. The activity man is arranging piles of date states from Basra, so sweet, so dark, stacked neatly in pyramids. Is taking great care to ensure the pile is perfect. This attention to detail. This quiet pride in the simplest task is the heartbeat of Baghdad. There is a silence here, despite the activity or silence of acceptance of the daily routine, and no one is shouting. No one is in a mad rush. Golden age allows for this slow pace, this measured approach to life. We drift past the cloth merchants. They deal in fine linen from Egypt, silk from China, brought across the Silk Road. Fabrics are folded and stacked in. Eye columns reflecting the light softly feel cool to the touch. If we were to reach out, we see bolts of deep indigo blue and rich crimson red colors that were expensive and hard to create, but that air commonplace here in Baghdad. Silk shimmers. A gentle glow under the canopy. Is easy to get lost in the folds of the fabric, the softness of the threads we're walking deeper into. The souk now. But we are avoiding the main roads where the noise will soon become too great. Stick to the side. Passages in each area find a small tea house that is just opening its doors. It is not a fancy establishment, just a few low stools and tables for travelers and merchants, owners stoking. The charcoal fire under his large copper kettle. Kettle sings a low, soft whistle as the water begins to warm. The smell of mint and brewing black tea hangs in the air. Is a warm, comforting aroma. Decide to rest here for a short moment before continuing our journey through this boring morning. Take a seat away from the street, facing the cool shadows of the inner walls of the tea house as the owner brings you a small glass of tea. Is hot, sweet, and earthy. Hold the glass, feeling the warmth radiate into our fingers. Quiet sip of tea. The slow exchange of simple kindness is the rhythm we seek. Listen to the sounds that drift in from the street. Now that we are still soft tinkling of a bell, perhaps a donkey wearing a decorative harness, scrape of a broom on stone as another shopkeeper cleans his entranches. The distant call to prayer from a minaret that is not the main mosque but a smaller neighborhood masjid. Call is long and drawn. Out a melody that floats above the noise of the street. It is the mid-morning prayer, reminding everyone of the steady pace of the day. Way finish the tea slowly, the warmth settling in our chest. We'll feel the gentle slowing of our own breath. This peaceful observation, this lack of demand. We're free to stay, we are free to move. Slowly rise from the low stool. Sun is now higher. I take is brighter. Have had our moment of rest. We'll continue to drift away from the tea house and back into the alleyways, or searching now for the scholarly side of Baghdad, side that is not focused on buying and selling, but on learning and writing. Are heading towards a quarter that is known for its scribes and bookbinders. Noise of the spice suck begins to recede behind us. Air becomes lighter, less heavy with fragrance too. Our back amongst the high walls of the residential wreath. Walk is long, but the shade is kin will pass small residences with courtyards overflowing with citrus. Trees sway, catch a glimpse of bright oranges and yellow lemons hanging heavily on the branches. Smell of the citrus is light and zesty, a clean counterpoint to the dust. See a scholar walking ahead of you. G is a man of advanced years dressed in simple white linen, carries under his arm a thick bound volume wrapped in cloth to protect IT. From the sun and the dust his steps are slow, his head is bowed in thought, is already immersed in his world of knowledge, his mind turning over complex problems of mathematics. Oh, our astronomy, do not disturb his walk. We follow quietly in his footsteps. Ere approaching the scribed quarter here, the atmosphere changes again. There is less chatter, more focused sounds, the scratch of a reed pen on parchment, a dry, soft sound, the low whir of a grinding. Stone used to mix pigments for ink. We see the first signs of the scribe shops. They are open to the air shelves, packed with rolls of paper and copper rust. The air here smells of fresh ink-tanned leather. And gluet is the scent of learning. Look into one of the shops. A young scribe is sitting cross-legged. On a mat, his back straight, is carefully copying a text. His hand moves with fluid precision, creating the beautiful curves of the Arabic script. Each letter is a work of art, each word a dedication. He's not rushing. His work requires patience and steady hands. This is a day without rush, a day for perfect execution. Watch his hand for a long time, the slow and inevitable progress of the pen across the page. The light hits the ink, giving it a deep, shiny blackness. Paper is expensive, made from high-quality linen rags. Baghdad is the center of the world for paper production. This is where knowledge is preserved and multiplied. Stand in the doorway of the scribe shop, and we feel the gentle power of knowledge. Silence is deeper here than in the ska silence of intellectual effort. It is soothing and deep. We drift away from the scribe. We do not wish to break his concentration. Seen the beginnings of commerce, the gentle rhythms of the market, and we have seen the quiet dedication of the scholarly world. Sun is nearing its peak. It is time to find a place of shade and reflection before the heat of the midday sets in. Find a small mosque courtyard that is open and quieted. It is surrounded by tall palm trees there, fronds shivering gently in the very lightest of breezes. Stone pavement is cool under our feet. We sit down on the edge of a water. Basint water is still and reflective. Look up at the high arches of the mosque. They are simple, elegant, and reverent. Close our eyes for a moment. City is still hustling outside, but here there's Pisu. Hear the comforting sound of a dove cooing softly from the high ceiling. Feel the gentle weight of the golden age settling over U.S. boring. Day in Baghdad is a day of perfect harmonia, day where learning and commerce and spirituality exist side by side in quiet equilibrium. Let the heat and the light and the gentle noise of the city drift away. We are safe here. We are at peace in Nasrullah. We'll keep the shade cool and the water still as we drift further into the quiet hours of this ancient CIT. Why the sun climbs higher now. It's light still golden but sharpening. We move away from the pounding heart of the soup where the copper beaters shout. And the water seller's call, the great noise begins to recede like the tide slowly drawing back from the shore, leaving behind a peaceful silence that only the inner city knows. We follow a narrow alleyway, now a cool refuge. The ground here is packed earth and smooth stone worn down by 1,000 years of sandals and donkey hoofs. The awnings overhead are thicker, heavier woven matting designed not just to shade but to hush the sound. We are walking toward the district of the scribes, the souk al-Workin, market of the paper makers and the booksellers. Here the commerce is quiet. It is the trade of the mind, the slow accumulation of wisdom. The air changes, subtly gone is the sharp sting of saffron and the heady scent of burning coals, replaced by the gentle aroma of wood dust and aged parchment, a smell of dry leather, and a deep metallic sweetness of fresh black ink. We stand at the entrance of a large open courtyard, a place surrounded by tiny recessed shops. Each stall is stacked high with rolled scrolls and flat bundles of newly prepared paper. A peaceful industry hums here, a sound so low it is almost imperceptible. Is the sound of concentration, the gentle scratch of the reed pen, the soft rustle of expensive Samarkand paper being turned. See? Young scholar leaning against the pillar, his head tilted back, his eyes closed. He is not asleep yet. He is reciting a memorized verse, a slow rhythmic chant that keeps time only with his breath. Movement of his lips is the only movement in the quiet. Courtyard, his teacher sits nearby, cross-legged on a low cushion. He is carefully measuring out carbon, soot, and gum. Arabic, preparing a fresh batch of ink. His hands are stained deep purple and black, testament to a life spent creating the tools of knowledge. He dips his measuring spoon into the small copper pot of resina, slow, steady, repetitive motion, resin, soot, water, a tiny drop of rose water. Perhaps to keep the insects away, he stirs slowly, his focus absolute on the swirling dark mixture, the repetition. Is soothing, the mixing of the ink, a meditation. He is building the liquid that holds the thoughts of centuries. Look at the light here. Falls in dusty slanted beams, illuminating the small workshop of the copyists. The walls are lined floor to ceiling, with wooden shelves holding books both bound and unbound. The true wealth of Baghdad is housed not in gold vaults, but in these humble wooden boxes. A man sits at a low desk, his back straight, his concentration intense. He is a warraq, a professional. Scribe. His task today is copying a treatise on mathematics, perhaps, or the poetry of Al-Mutanabi. Holds the kalam, the reed pen steady. The pen moves with astonishing uniformity, stroke after stroke, word after word. There's no rush here, only precision. And patience, the scraping sound of the pen nib against the smooth surface of the prepared paper is the rhythm of this entire. Age, scratch, tap, dip, scratch, tap, dip. The movement is hypnotic. It slows your own breath. The scribe rarely lifts his head. His hand is detached from his mind, working purely from muscle memory, copying the forms of the Kufic script with effortless grace. Feel the coolness of the shade. Here, the stone walls keep the harsh afternoon heat at bay. The stillness allows your senses to focus on the small details, the tiny cloud of paper dust that rises when a page is turned, the weight of the heavy leather binding stacked nearby, the scent of cedarwood used to lean the storage. Chests protecting the precious manuscripts from silverfish and decay. This quiet corner of Baghdad is the true jewel of the golden age, not the clamor of the exchange, not the grandeur of the palace, but the steady silent work of those who commit wisdom. To the page, the rhythm of the scribe's pen continues. It is a sound designed for deep rest, a repetitive, secure, quiet sound. Scratch, dip, turn. Scratch, dip, turn. It means all is well. The city is still thinking, the world is still turning slowly, surely. Watch the ink dry slowly on the white page. The deep black characters solidify, becoming permanent history. And you feel the deep stillness settling over your own mind. Busy thoughts of the morning are gently being shelved and stored away like scrolls. Tucked neatly into the cool cedar chest, the warmth of the sun is outside. The shade of the book market embraces you now. The sound of the pen is your anchor, steady, even calming. We wait here for a moment longer, and the peace of the paper seller is just listening. To the quiet commerce of knowledge, the world outside is far away. There's only the steady scratch, scratch, scratch hand. The slow, easy breathing of the sleeping city. We drift away now from the brass and the sharp, insistent cries of the marketplace. Shadows shorten beneath the sun's great heat. Even Baghdad, the city of peace, acknowledges the power of the high meridian. The midday air hangs heavy, thick with the ghost scent of 1,000 spices left lingering after the flurry of morning trade. Turn down smaller lanes, narrower, cooler paths, walled high with sun-baked mud brick. The temperature drops several degrees as we move deeper into the residential heart, away from the river's constant flow and the din of the bridge. Traffic, there is an immense quiet settling over the city, now a collective sigh, a slow inhalation before the long afternoon stretch even. The donkey carts move slower, their wooden wheels grinding a patient rhythm against the dry earth. Listen, the sounds are changing. Again, we leave the human orchestra of buying and selling and move toward the domestic. Peace ahead lies the scholar's dorsal head. Wood inlaid with geometric patterns that absorb the light rather than reflect a subtle scent of rosewater and dry. Mint welcomes us before the gate even swings inward, stepping over the threshold. Is a profound physical relief, sudden immersion into coolness. The hustle of the outside world is instantly muffled, contained. It is like diving into deep, cool water after a morning spent walking the hot desert sands. We are in the courtyard now, the through heart of the Abbasid home. It is dominated not by people or activity, but by the gentle, continuous sound of moving water, the fountain, the Burqa marble bowl at the center, where a thin, steady stream of water whispers to itself. It is the sound of absolute serenity, the single most important auditory element of the Baghdad afternoon. This water is the breath of the house. It humidifies the air, it cools the stone. It provides a constant rhythmic background beat that encourages rest and contemplation. The sun is directly overhead, but the high walls of the surrounding iwans, the vaulted recesses, create deep pockets of shade, where cushions have been laid out for the midday rest. This is the hour of kalula, the necessary nap, the pause required by the body to digest and replenish it. It is not laziness, it is wisdom recognized by ancient cultures. Respectful slowing down of submission to the natural cycle of the sun. The lunch is simple. The heavy meal is reserved for the evening when the heat truly breaks now. We seek foods that hydrate, that refresh, that do not demand too much of the digestive. Fire a cool bowl of Laban, a thick yogurt, chilled naturally and porous. Clay jars. The tang of the milk product is balanced by the sweetness of fresh dates harvested near Basraith, jewel of the Shat El Arab, where the Tigris and Euphrates meet. A servant moves silently across the mosaic floor, bringing fresh cups flatbread, still warm from the tannour oven outside the kitchen torn. Not sliced, its steam carrying the comforting smell of pure grain and earthway. Sip cool mint-infused water, or sometimes a light sherbet made from rose petals or sour cherries. There's little conversation. Conversation belongs to the bustling morning or the reflective evening. Midday is for the senses, for feeling the cool, smooth stone beneath your fingers, for listening to the endless flow of the fountain. Our scholar returns weary from the morning at the House of Wisdom or the long walk to the souk, does not immediately turn back to his scrolls. He performs wudu, the ritual cleansing near the fountain, the water splashing over his hands. His face, his feet is a purification, not just of the body, but of the morning's accumulated dust and worry. He leans back against a thick cushion in the darkest shadow. Courtyard garden offers its scent, orange blossoms, white and fragile lemon trees, their sharp, bright scent cutting through the milky smell of the Laban. Think about this quiet. In a city of 1,000,000 souls, a capital of unparalleled global commerce and intellectual intensity, there is this deep pocket of silence, this refuge. This is the deliberate luxury of the Golden Age. Not just the possession of gold or books or spice, but the possession of stillness. The stillness to process, the stillness to reflect on the geometric solution seen earlier in the library. Stillness to recall the philosophical debate overheard in the booksellers market. The information settles now like sediment in a cooling glass of water. The sound of the splashing water never changes. It is the sound of time passing gently, not rushing, not demanding, just flowing, flowing, flowing. Let this sound of water in. The courtyard, heart of medieval Baghdad, join your breathing now. A slow, deep breath in the cool scent of wet marble, and mint a long, gentle breath out, releasing all the tightness of the day. Have half an hour of this deep rest. The scholar closes his eyes. He is not asleep, but hovering in that gentle space between awareness and repose. The mind still active, but softened. The body heavily relaxed. The sun will begin its descent soon. The shadows will lengthen and shift toward the east. The second phase of the boring day will begin, the afternoon of deep, focused work. But for now, we rest with the sound of the fountain. We listen to the water flowing. Always flowing, a soft, endless sound, drawing you deeper and deeper into the quiet core of the city. Into your own peaceful rest, the great calculations of the astrolabe, the endless commentaries on Aristotle, intricate dance of calligraphy across Volunti's high pursuits must rest. The mind having journeyed to the furthest stars and the deepest philosophical pool snow descends gently to the plain earth, to the necessary mundane architecture of empire. This is the hour of the administrators. Quiet settling of accounts, sound of the abacus, clicking soft line, a room cooled by thick stone walsa. Room smelling of dried figs and old papyrus. The heat of the midday sun remains outside. Nasrullah invites you now to witness tedious truth of the golden Ajith. Simple requirement that the caravans must be counted. Weights must be exact. Contracts must be filed. A scholar needs pauper. Paper maker needs raw, flax of flax. Merchant needs a receipt. requires a tired Manamid. Hisham sitting at a low desk drawing small, precise Arabic numerals. He is not writing poetry. He's noting the arrival of 97 bales off Indian cotton at the port of Bas 3 weeks ago. He is not defining divine love. Is ensuring that the tax levy on those ballasts is calculated correctly and that the Caliphate receives a Duane smooth worn silver diners. This is the boring magic of Baghdad. The noise from the main souk is muffled here, right? Is a heavy breathing sound, a city sighing under the weight of its own success. But in Hisham's small office anywhere, the river Tigris is quiet work necessary to him that allows the philosophers to remain philosophizing. Imagine the rhythmic scratch of his reed penna sound softer than rain-marking ledgers ruled with faded red dye. He checks the weight discrepancies bend 2 shipments of copper, or he notes the rise in the price of Mesopotamian barley. Small worry for the granary is a small thing that might keep us sleepless perfect awake tonight. But here in this momented is simply numbers, a sequence of mathematical truths that defy the wild passions of mental. +2 = 4 in any language in any era, certainty or calming absolute. This quiet pursuit of commercial orders, the very blanket that keeps the cultural explosion environment safe without Hisham's boring diligence, without the predictable accounting. House of Wisdom would starve, libraries would lack ink, astronomers would lack the fine brass needed for their instruments. So we honor this quiet mantis keeper of the middle column, man who ensures balance. Let the sound of his pen scratching smooth the edges of your thoughts. Let the steady repetition of his task, but gentle mantra. He dips the kalam into the inkwell, a soft wet sound. Writes the dated predictable sequence of the Abbasid calendar at more day completed on more page filled with the history of things bought and sold. His colleague Zaid is checking the manifest off the latest river transport from Wasitha. Is dealing with the logistics of dates and fish staple goods, things nobody writes odes about. Zaid Yansa, silent sound. The air in the office is thick and warm. The midday prayers are long finished. The afternoon stretch has begun. He shifts his weight on the low cushion and returns to the list of clay jars, 43 full 3. Broken 12 missing. He simply writes mended fur. The cracked jar is an easy solution, a small act of clerical compromise, the sense of peaceful bureaucracy. Slow movement of administrative machinery is intensely soothing. It is the predictability. Absolute knowledge that the system, however complex, is still running smoothly. We rest in the assurance that the copper ore will reach the coppersmith. The grain will reach the baker, that the vast golden empire is held together not by the caliph's strength alone, but by the quiet, unceasing work off 1,000 tired clerks. Hisham finishes his section. He taps the side of the ledger shut. The soft thud of heavy leather, a satisfying conclusion. It is time for a quiet cup of cooled water, perhaps a small sweetmeat. Brief moment of rest before the afternoon demands. Preparation of the evening reports for the vizier's office. The day moves slowly, no one hurried by the urgent pace of morning trade. The shadows are long and defined. The air thickens with dust, and the smell of drying reeds, a gentle, boring afternoon settling over the city. Sleep draws, closer sleep waits patiently. We drift onward secure and the knowledge that the accounts are in order and tomorrow. Hisham will be here again, ready for the numbers. Light is fading, now a slow velvet shift across the ochre domes and the high lattice windows. The long shadows of the minarets stretch across the river Tigris like dark fingers promising rest and coolness. The pace of Baghdad slows, not dramatically. Not suddenly, but with a deep sigh of relief as the sun begins its final spectacular descent towards the desert edge. We leave the clatter of the main thoroughfares behind. Follow the merchant who has closed his stall, the scholar who has finished. He is reading the water carrier whose jugs are now empty and rinsed, waiting for the morning. Turn into the quieter quarters, the residential lanes where the high mud brick walls absorb the day's heat and release it slowly back into the cool evening. Air of final gentle warmth. Hear the faint rasp of metal on stone. The sound of shop doors being sealed and bolted for the night listen. To the hush that falls over the Souk al-Batarin, the perfume sellers market their strong scents of musk and rose. Settling down like dust motes in the evening quiet. It is time now for the streets to surrender to the residents. The public world retreats and the private world of the courtyard and the home begins to bloom. The air shifts, carrying different aromas. Now, not the sharp spices or the tanning leather, but the deep, comforting smell of wood smoke and freshly baked bread emanating from the shared ovens that line the neighborhood. Alleyways walk with me down this narrow lane, the stone beneath your feet now pleasantly cool. The walls here rise high, insulating the homes from the noise and the heat of the day. See the small wooden doors painted in shades of indigo or turquoise. They speak of privacy and sanctuary. Feel the change in the atmosphere. A sense of enclosure, a protective embrace that Baghdad offers its citizens when the labor of the day is done. You can hear the specific sounds of evening ablutions, the gentle splashing of water as someone prepares for the final prayer of the day. The Maghrib. The evening prayer is a signal, a soft division between the activity of the day and the quiet contemplation of the night inside. The family home, the bait, the true life of the Golden Age unfolds away from the gaze of the Caliph, away from the clamor of the court, away from the bustle of the knowledge house. The center of the home is the courtyard. The sand and open space of cool marble or packed earth often contain a small fountain or a citrus tree. The courtyard draws the eye upwards, towards the darkening sky where the first stars begin to prick through the fading. Imagine resting there now, perhaps on a low rug or cushioned. See the simple mat spread out for comfort. The stones around the fountain are damp and cool to the touch. The air smells of jasmine, the flower that only releases its full fragrance as the light dies. This is the great luxury of a boring day in Baghdad. The profound certainty that after the heat and the hard work, there's always this cool refuge. Waiting, a woman's voice calls softly from an inner room, perhaps asking about the day, perhaps preparing the evening meal, the simple sound of copper pots being moved across a low fire. Evening meal is light and shared, simple yet deeply satisfying. Perhaps lentils stewed with herbs, perhaps fresh dates and milk, perhaps flatbread dipped in olive oil and za'atar, a need for great banquets. Tonight, no need for court poets or intricate philosophical debate. This is the time for quiet storytelling, for soft rhythm of domesticity. The oil lamps are being lit now, casting warm pools of flickering light against the intricate carved wooden screens that divide the rooms. The shadows dance, gently expanding and contracting, creating a hypnotizing movement that invites rest and ease. Listen closely to the sound of the fountain. Its steady murmur, the perfect soundtrack to the winding down of the Abbasid day. It is the sound of water, always moving, always sustaining Baghdad, and always whispering peace. Let the weight of your own day gently dissolve as the sun sinks below the horizon of time, and the golden city prepares for the deep sleep of night. Drift further down into this quiet evening, where the only ambition is rest and the only certainty is the cool night air. The walls hold the heat, but the air flows freely. The scent of cooling earth and fragrant smoke drifting slowly across the sleeping city. Let the gentle murmur of the evening be your guide. Peaceful rest awaits you. Sleep now, sleep. Deep, the deepest silence of the Abbasid night descends now over the magnificent city of Baghdad. Velvet cloak of indigo and silver cast by a rising moon that illuminates only the highest minarets. The heat of the market day, the hustle of the paper sellers, shouting of the spice merchant, the endless chatter of the philosophers in the house of wisdom. All these sounds are drawn back, sucked into the earth, leaving only a profound quietness. This is the hour of true rest, when the very bricks of the city cool and release the accumulated warmth of the sun. We stand with the scholar Abu Hassan in the grand libraries filled with the scent of aged papyrus, but in his modest courtyard home the final prayers of the night, Isha, have long been recited. The echo of the muezzin's voice, a memory that sinks deep into the heart of the resting city. Feel the air change it carries. The scent of water splashed onto the thirsty courtyard tiles, earlier cool dampness that promises relief and sleep. Listen closely, and you might only hear the slow drip off water from a clay jar, or perhaps the soft sigh of a tired camel somewhere in the distant stables waiting patiently for the return of the morning sun. The day's great intellectual labors are complete. The mathematical equations are solved or paused, poetry is polished, and recitet, medical consultations concluded. Now the mind must perform its own private ritual, winding down the gentle archiving of the hours, slow processing of the day's intake. Abu Al-Hazen sits on a woven mathis, tired eyes, watching the single small oil lamp flickering gently on its low stand. Light is dim, it casts long dancing shadows in the whitewashed walls, shadows that stretch and shrink with the changing breath of the Night air, he watches the flame, a tiny captive star burning its oil. Slowly, he has covered his precious scrolls, rolled them tight and secured them with leather tees, protecting the knowledge until the return of the daylight. He knows that knowledge demands respect, and that respect means giving the body and the mind profound stillness necessary for rejuvenation. This quiet is the true fertilizer for thought sleep. Is the secret chamber where the Mindri organizes complexity into clarity. He thinks of the Caliph Harun al-Rashid, or maybe his successor Al-Mamun, valued sleep as highly as he valued scholarship, knowing the arrested ruler made better choice and arrested scholar wrote truer words. The servant enters quietly, walking softly on the rushes. Covering the floor, he carries a brass extinguishing conia, small funnel used to smother the flame gently. There is no need for sudden darkness, no. Cone is placed over the wick. Light does not snap out, it merely fat as it dims. Into a gentle glowing earthen disappears, leaving only the faint warm smell of extinguished oil. Now the room is lit only by the faint silver glow that spills over the high courtyard walls from the celestial lantern that is the moon. This is the deeper darkness that cradles the imagination. The sound of the city is fully silenced, now only the occasional distant bark of a dogger. The slow, steady rhythm of a night watchman's footsteps pacing along the broad avenues of the round city. The watchman, too, is part of the lullaby, a promise of safety and vigilance, a gentle reminder that while we sleep, others guard the peace. We imagine Abu Hazen finally stretching out in his thin mattress, stuffed with cotton or wool, a simple sleeping arrangement fitting for a man whose wealth is measured not in gold diners, but in volumes of wisdom. He closes his eyes, and the physical world of Baghdad begins to dissolve. He recalls the last beautiful line of the poem was reading before the Isha prayer line about the constancy of the stars and the fleeting nature of human worry. He breathes slowly, deeply, feel the weight of your own body settling now as if you too were lying on that simple matin, that quiet courtyard. 1,000 years ago, the night air is pure. It cleanses the lungs, it soothes the forehead. The mind begins its slow descent, moving away from the sharp angles of the day and entering the gentle curves of the subconscious. In the quiet rooms across Baghdad, children are dreaming of flying horses, and golden palaces merchants are dreaming of successful trades, and Basha soldiers are dreaming of safe passages through the desert. And scholars like Abu Hazen dream of discovering the next great truth, hidden equation, the perfect philosophical concept that resolves the day's great riddles. Sleep is where the true breakthroughs occur, where the mind unyokes itself from the strict rules of logic and allows intuition to roam free. We listen to the silence. It is not an empty silence, it is a full one. It is filled with the presence of rest, promise of renewal. Let the thoughts of your own day drift away like smoke from a cooling coal. There is no urgency here. The sun will rise again, but not yet. There are still many hours remaining in this soft, dark comfort. We remain suspended between the golden Lamorief, Baghdad's busy day, and the absolute peace of its deep sleeping night feel. The weight leaving your shoulders, tension unwinding from your jaw. This ancient quiet is all embracing it. Welcomes all who seek refuge from the endless demands of wakefulness. The city sleeps. Now the mighty Abbasid Empire is paused, waiting for the morning light to awaken its destiny. You are perfectly safe, perfectly still and deeply cared for by the lullaby of history. Just rest. Let us wait together for the absolute final transition until the deepest part of the historical night. The air cools now. The shadows deepen, the long shadows of the minarets stretching out. Across the city of Peace, Beit al-Hikmah is silent. The parchment scrolls rest, waiting for the dawn. The astronomer has packed away his brass astrolabe. The scholar sleeps, dreaming perhaps of Euclid or of Khwarizmi. Feel the settling of the Abbasid night. A heavy blanket of quiet velvet darkness descends upon the river Tigris. The river murmurs, a constant slow song, a deep bass note beneath the fading sounds of man. Listen closely now as we prepare our own journey towards sleep. The last vendors have shuttered their stalls. The clatter of copper trays is long gone, replaced by the hush of woven mats being laid down on cool marble floors. The scent of spice is replaced by the scent of damp earth and night-blooming jasmine carried on a breeze that sighs. Gently through the lattice work, we move deeper into the quietude of our Baghdad house. The oil lamps are turned low casting. Pools of hesitant golden light flickering softly. There's a final sound of wood against stone as the great courtyard door is barred for the night, securing the peace safe within these thick earthen walls. We walk slowly through the interior halls. The tiled mosaic floors cool beneath our feet. Each step is gentle, measured, intentional. You feel the weight of the day lifting, weight of the golden sun, the complexity of mathematics, the vibrancy of the market, all dissolving into the peaceful simplicity of rest feel. The calmness of the geometry around you, perfect arch of the doorway, the measured symmetry of the courtyard, the balance that Baghdad prized in its design and in its philosophy. The night air cleanses the soul. We hear only the small sounds that belong to the night. Distant chirping of a cricket, persistent rhythmic, the soft whisper of the fountain in the inner courtyard, dropping water onto water and endless. Slow cascade drip, drop, slow metronome for the sleeping mind imagine. Now the textile of your bedding, soft Egyptian cotton, cool and light you. Sink into the mattress, your head rests upon. The bolster filled with down, relieved of all weight, of all worry. The silence is absolute now, a silence perfected by centuries of study and peace. Is the silence of the Abbasid golden age, a peace built not on weapons, but on wisdom, a stability found in books and the steady flow of the Tigris. Let that stability surround you. Let the gentle rhythmic sigh of the cooling breeze lull your conscious thoughts away. You are in Baghdad tonight, but Baghdad is deeply asleep. The stars above the circular city are countless. They are the same stars studied by Al-Kindi centuries ago. The same stars that guided the ships on the Indian Ocean trade routes. They are watching over your sleep tonight. Imagine their vast silent distance, their cold light reaching across impossible space, all that distance, all that time reflected in the quiet of this room, are merely a small part of a very large and very peaceful universe, and that is a comfort. Breathe, deeply inhale. The coolness of the night exhale. The tension of the day slowly, now slower still. Your breathing matches the flow of the river outside the city walls, deep and constant. Let the stories we shared tonight, the smell of saffron, the quiet contemplation of the scholar, the cool splash of rosewater, let these sensory memories become the backdrop of your deepest rest. We are safe here in the golden age. The city sleeps, the empire rests. So do your eyelids feel heavy? They feel like thick velvet curtains drawn across a window. It's time to let go completely, too. Surrender to the quiet order of the night's sleep. Now sleep deeply. I am your host, Anasayil, and from all of us here at History Lullubay, wish you the most peaceful of sleep. May your dreams be as bright as the wisdom of Baghdad. Good night.